So welcome everyone to second day of judging at ETHOnline. We are just give you an overview. This is a hackathon with over 700 hackers and 1,000 applications came in. We have hacking teams from 65 countries across 19 time zones to sort of give you a sense of the scale. And 175 projects have been submitted and will be judged in these coming days. I'll briefly run through the format of how this will go. This will be the same for every demo. There's a 4-minute video, no longer than 4 minutes. So as teams join, the first thing you'll do is you'll share your video. So as you join, you just keep your video camera off, share screen, and share your demo video. And then as soon as the demo video is done, turn your video cameras on and unmute, and then you have 4 minutes of questions with the judges. Andy, my colleague here, will be keeping the time, and he'll try to give a 1-minute warning. And then he'll, in a friendly way, interrupt at the end of the 4 minutes and try to keep things on time. And then around the halfway mark, we'll have a 10-minute break. And this is sort of how, in general, we've set up the criteria. There are these relatively broad categories, but we judge on technicality, originality, the practicality of the hack, the UI, UX, and DX, and then there's sort of the wow factor, if it's just like a cool idea or presentation. And like all the ETHGlobal events, we're really serious about that. Although there's competition, this really isn't at its core a competition. We want to set these things up so people get to the end of these and have learned a lot. We're not aiming to build all these things to be businesses. It's really up to all the hackers, whatever direction they want to take things. There's no emphasis on that per se. We just want really cool, interesting projects. We hope people learn, and that in this session, the team should really look at this as an opportunity to get some really good feedback. I'm going to quickly introduce our judges for this session. We have Saishav Todi from Lemniscap, Sergej Kunz from 1inch, and Qiao Wang from DeFi Alliance. Thank you for your time. We very much appreciate you guys showing up here and lending your judging talents to this event. And now, with no further ado, we will I actually have to promote, if you stand by. This is me multitasking. Boom. Okay. It's Andy, if you could announce the first team, and we'll get underway.
All right, so our first team will be Overlay. If you could start sharing your screen, that would be great, and we can get this started.
Sounds good. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect. Can you see?
Yep.
Yes.
I can see that.
Perfect. We'll start the video. We are the Overlay team. We built a platform to trade any DeFi data stream, long or short, with leverage using on-chain price oracles. How it works: traders come in and build positions by locking up synthetic OVL tokens native to the protocol in a protocol offered market contract at time-weighted average prices fetched from the oracle. Traders receive ERC 1155 position tokens upon locking up their OVL, and on position unwind, the market contract dynamically mints or burns OVL to pay the trader back their profits. Protocol revenues come from trading fees, where 50% are burned to manage the OVL supply, and 50% are sent to a community-governed treasury with rights to OVL spot market liquidity providers and governance participants. The demo. So as you can see, when I log in, I see my OVL balance. I see trading view chart. But if I click, I can select different markets that the protocol offers. So there's ETH USD, there's DAI USD. So if I want to go and build a position on BTC USD, just click this button, build new position, and refresh to make sure the price is up to date. And I'll go long, let's say 10, about 10 OVL with 7.25 leverage. And when I build the position, what you see is the OVL being locked up into the position contract, and 50% of the fees getting burnt, 50% being sent to the community treasury. And then if I come back and click unwind, I'll see my positions that I can potentially unwind for BTC USD, the new position that we just made for 7.25 leverage, the lock price. So if I want to take profits on a prior position, all I have to do is click unwind position here. We'll unwind most of it. And what you'll see is the protocol minting new tokens to compensate me for my profits. There you go. So how's it made? There are 3 main contracts. There is an OVL token contract, only one deployed, and then there are pairs of OVL position, OVL feed contracts. Each OVL position contract has admin mint burn privileges on the OVL token contract. The OVL feed contract acts right now as a proxy for Chainlink price feed data, which the associated OVL position contract calls on build unwind for price data. And each position for the OVL position contract is an ERC 1155 with unique identifier that's a combo of the position attributes, the lock price, the long short side, and the leverage factor. And then I can go send those, trade those wherever on secondary markets. Future work, we want to finish up the Uniswap v2 Oracle feed contract, which allows us to then use OVL ETH with enough spot liquidity to provide a way for traders to hedge their OVL risk. We treasury staking, governance, and liquidity mining contracts for the initial distribution, keeper bots for liquidations, and mainnet. You can check it out at overlay.exchange. We're live on testnet right now. And thank you so much.
All right, that looks good. The Q&A will begin now.
Hey, Qiao here. Just a quick question so I better understand the product. So basically the P&L is settled in the OVL token. Is that right?
Yes, sorry. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I do.
Yep. The P&L right now is settled in the OVL token and all trades are in OVL. So the problem is, well, why do I care? Because what I really care about is making profits in ETH, right? So the future work that needs to happen is providing enough liquidity on the secondary markets where, like for Uniswap, you have traders going in and out of OVL ETH, providing an incentive for Uniswap LPs to actually put liquidity there. The thought process right now is the fees that the OVL platform ends up generating in OVL end up going to the people that stake those Uniswap LP tokens in an OVL treasury contract, but that needs to actually be implemented. The point of the hackathon was really just to build the actual mechanism itself. Does that make sense?
Yep, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep.
Just to understand, how does the liquidation work? Basically, you're using your own native token as the collateral, right? And which would have much lesser liquidity, especially in the start, right? And a much higher volatility. So how do you handle all of that within your protocol?
So I guess it kind of feels like two questions, but correct me if I'm wrong. The first question with the liquidations, all the liquidations occur in OVL. So basically, we're incentivizing people to liquidate. They get 50, they essentially right now, and 50% is an arbitrary amount, but they get 50% of the amount that's locked up in the position. And then the rest, yeah. In terms of the volatility in the OVL token, I think that's kind of similar to the previous question with the spot price. The hope is with enough spot liquidity on Uniswap or on Balancer, you can offer an OVL feed for OVL ETH, right? And then traders can take two positions. They can take a BTC USD position an ETH USD position and an OVL ETH position at the same time to try and hedge out any sort of OVL risk. And then it becomes a problem of managing the currency supply of OVL for enough people to feel comfortable in holding the OVL token and not thinking the supply is gonna like astronomically go up or increase, at least in theory.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of the thought process.
I'm going to interrupt. There's just a reminder. There's 1 more minute left in the Q&A.
Okay. There's also, we have a white paper because this is an idea that my partner had previously come up with a couple years ago, and we just never implemented it. And it's on the GitHub repo as well, if that helps for more detail. But at least when he did some agent-based simulations, he showed that fees themselves could end up significantly reducing the supply over time. And he's not really taking into account tail risks of like everybody winning at the same time. But the thought process is at least those fees could end up reducing the supply enough where if you have somebody win out really big, it kind of net offsets that big payout. That's in theory, but the whole point is to try and build it, and we'll see. But hopefully that kind of answers it. At least in my mind, if the currency supply is managed well enough with the right incentive scheme, the thought process is there's enough confidence in the protocol where people don't feel like they're just printing some virtual token and it's going to be worthless when they exit their position. But that could be wrong, right?
It's not completely so it's workable in the sense that synthetics does the same, right? The only thing is it takes liquidity and confidence, right? Which works against for when you're starting out, right? So the plan you should have a plan of liquidity to start off with, because that would be success or failure of the product. Right? It depends on secondary market liquidity.
Yeah. Does it make sense to you guys to?
I'm gonna have to stop you guys there. Q&A is over now.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. So we'll give a 10-second delay before introducing the next team. All right, so next up is the team Aletheia. If you guys could start sharing your screen and we can get that started.
Yes, am I audible?
Yep.
Okay. Hello everyone, this is Aletheia here, presenting for Aletheia. Now, Aletheia is a profile management application that is built on top of Ceramic Network and that implements the IDX protocol. Now, Aletheia is built to unlock a whole new Web3 experience with decentralized identities and basic profiles being made universally accessible, such that any application that uses 3ID Connect, IDX protocol, or Aletheia itself, we plan on creating a library very soon, will be able to access and retrieve these basic profiles. Now, without wasting a lot of time, I'll quickly get into the demo itself. All right, so we get the startup screen, and if I click on get started, you can choose MetaMask, and we get this iframe on top of here of 3ID Connect. If we click on continue, we'll have to sign on our MetaMask for access, and in about a couple of seconds, we will have a profile that loads up. So essentially, we are retrieving a DID using 3ID Connect which is again built by Ceramic Network and the team at 3box. There we go. So we have the profile that loads up, a couple of details, some emojis, description, etc., etc. We can also see a DID that's displayed over here. We can further click on edit and change any of the fields. Let's choose an image. I'll choose the same one once again. And the image is of course being uploaded to IPFS itself directly. And we can change any of the other details if I want. Let's see. I'll just try the student, college, and I'll update it. And once again, another couple of seconds, we will get back the previous screen where it's updated. There we go. It says student and college. This is all once again being stored decentralized, and the user gets absolute control over the data. That's the advantage. And as I mentioned, it's being stored on Ceramic as smart documents. And at the same time, IDX protocol helps with the routing and being able to access and fetch these basic profiles. Now, if I just quickly copy my DID here, and what we will do is we'll head over to the explore route. Now, the explore route exists simply for allowing users to access any of the DID profiles apart from their own profiles. So let's say you have a friend's DID, you could just paste it and click on resolve, and you'll be able to fetch their profile. Of course, you will not be able to edit any of the details through the explore section. It's simply to be able to fetch different DIDs and fetch different profiles using the DIDs. In just about a couple of seconds, we will see the same profile that appears. And there we go. The same details are once again fetched over here. However, we can see that there's no edit option here. We just have the back option. And that's about it for a demo. We try to keep it as short and straightforward as possible. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, that's good. Q&A will begin now.
Yeah, I think before the Q&A, I'd like to just add one small thing before we couldn't include it in the video, but about the future plans. So as I think I just mentioned, we plan on creating some kind of a library or some way in which other websites will be able to access these profiles. And secondly, our main idea was actually about doing this for the medical sector, where we can store the healthcare records. And the doctors can actually sign each of those updates. Plus, at the same time, the prescriptions of the medicines can be verified at the medical store or by the pharmacist. So that was kind of the larger picture. But for during this hackathon, we could just fit this much into our project to get started. And yeah.
I have one question. Hi guys. What about encryption of the data itself? So I have seen. If I have this idea, I can access the personal data. Do you plan to encrypt that, or
yeah?
Did you talk about that? The problem, because sure, you would have problems with regulatories with not encrypted personal data out there.
Yeah. So regarding that, the basic profiles are meant to be public, so that obviously the DID is not known to any application as such. You have to sign your MetaMask to resolve and get the DID itself. So that kind of helps with it. And once you do, the basic profile is kind of more or less public, where you can get the data. But for something like healthcare records, which are future plans, that'll definitely be encrypted. So Ceramic Network has something as a format specifier called DAG-Jose, I believe. We had some trouble setting it up, so we didn't push those changes into our hack project itself. But yeah, so DAG-Jose would essentially work as a JWE, and as we can encrypt it and store it on IPFS itself. And yeah, that kind of helps. Plus there's version control too, so we can actually go back and see the previous versions. And that's kind of the idea for the long term.
Thanks.
Yeah, Aditya. How would you bootstrap the initial critical mass of users? Because this requires some sort of a network effect, right, at the beginning.
True. So we don't have a concrete plan as such. We just mostly, I think the first aim was to play around with this whole new tooling. We really love the idea of decentralized identities and what it presents as the whole new opportunity that it presents. And considering how new the tech is, we definitely wanted to get our hands dirty with it, test out something, and see how it goes. We don't have a concrete plan for that, to be very honest, but we hope that people recognize that how important it can be to take control of your own data. And I think that the technology itself hopefully can convince a lot of users to try it out. And yeah. that's kind of how we thought of it.
Yeah. I mean, one thing you can potentially try is some sort of financial incentive at the beginning, some sort of token, governance, whatever, like just thinking out loud, but just an idea.
There is 1 minute
Sure.
left for Q&A.
We'll keep that in mind. That's thanks for that. We actually opened to a lot of feedback and suggestions because this was, as I said, something of an experiment for us. We actually started with a different idea, but pivoted because we wanted to challenge ourselves. We don't want to be too comfortable, and any feedback really helps.
I like it a lot.
Yes,
thanks so much.
I hope you had fun building this.
A lot of fun.
You look really fresh out of college, or are you still in college?
Yeah, we are still in college.
So, yeah, it's a good output for a hackathon, right? What I would think you all should pursue the project is actually build applications on it, or actually have partner with dApps who will use this, right? Either through an API, which is a better route to get users, right? And have a service layer instead of treating yourself as a dApp developer, right? But yeah, I hope you've learned. It's been a good ride for you.
Definitely, it was a lot of fun.
All right, that's the end of the Q&A. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, so next up is a team Rupia. If you guys could start sharing your screen, that would be nice.
Today I'm going to talk about Rupia. This is my ETHOnline hackathon project submission. So the reason behind doing this project is there's an emerging DeFi opportunity in India. And this is due to emerging use cases which have skyrocketed due to the coronavirus pandemic, such as insurance claim automation, sports betting, retail investment lending, where it's moved away from cash transactions more and more towards digital currency and using Android phones. So there is a strong need for that. However, it's difficult to use existing rupee-based stablecoins for DeFi use cases because many of them are still in beta and they're also quite centralized. So what are the requirements for a good Indian stablecoin? First thing, it needs to have the fiat crypto gateway via IMPS or an immediate payment service. This will reduce the transaction fees. It needs to have a simple user experience so that it doesn't turn off the users. And also it needs to have an interest rate greater than 4%. So there's an incentive for users to adopt a new stablecoin. With all this in mind, what is done for this hackathon is a simpler sort of an MVP, where the user tries to put rupees using a sandbox environment, and this is then converted to DAI. This DAI in the Matic network is then compared with Oracle chainlink node, which is using a crypto compare or an open API. And with this open API, the price feed is then used to then convert or mint your stablecoins. So I've run the React script, and then what you see is that it will show the user can directly buy DAI in the Matic network. So you can go ahead and click. And I've given my wallet address in MetaMask, and this will then convert it now to the DAI with this window, like a just an account that I created so that it will speed up the process. And what you see is like in the staging environment, it's called, all the code for this is available in GitHub, so you can feel free to integrate it. It's confirmed. So the next bit has to be done manually by the customer, which is basically you'll have to scan this QR code and make a payment using the bank app. Once it's done, then he can see on his email address, for example, this amount of DAI will be sent to the wallet. So currently the wallet has like I think 1,300, so it should be increased now to 1,951. This is the current transaction in the ByteDance net. So under the hood, there's a contract which is deployed already, and that is basically using an open API like CryptoCompare to get only by a chainlink node, and this just gives you the exchange rate between DAI and rupee, which is 76.77 or 76 rupees and 77 paise. And the code is available on GitHub, and you can have a look, and you can see that it's a converter. There are some issues with collateralization, and it's not fully done. It is still some work in progress and implements which needs to be made. You could get the final converter. The next steps for Rupia is to integrate it with an interest rate forecasting model, which I developed in a previous hackathon. This will enable good interest rate prediction and more efficiency. So once that is done, then I can launch Rupia on Matic mainnet. In parallel, I've already been in discussions with Transact to get Rupia listed on Transact. This will enable interest rates to be redirected directly to the fiat bank account of the user. This enables exciting use cases such as insurance, for example, where claim automation can be done with the user paying premium via INRR, that is Rupia, and then having this to enable payouts as well. Smart contract automation. Thanks for the opportunity.
So, yeah, done with the presentation.
But yeah, Q&A will start now.
Yeah, my main question here, Vijay, would be considering that how volatile INR itself is compared to US dollars, right?
Yeah.
Do you see a demand for people holding INR once they've converted to crypto and not holding US dollars itself if they want it to be stable? Because INR generally be going down, right? All third world currencies have been on a slippage, right?
Yeah, exactly. So what is happening is that this whole idea started because I was trying to, in a previous hackathon, to build like an insurance claim automation on and run it. And when I spoke with other insurance companies and so on, when I reached out in India, what they were saying is that it's quite volatile, the rupee, and that's why they wanted something which is stable. But if you try to convert it to US dollar, and the US dollar itself is also like not that stable, but if it is, for example, somewhere it is collateralized with DAI, there is actually an opportunity for many of them, but they want as much of, they want it to be as simple as possible. So that's why this need emerged. But you're right in that rupee itself is quite volatile, and it has had like more than 15% or 10% variation over the last 6 months. So it's that's why if you track it and if you provide like an interest rate which is greater than 4%, then there is like some sort of an incentive for them to switch and also pay premiums directly as rupees. Okay.
Vijay, why did you choose to build it on top of Matic?
Yeah, really good. So initially I wanted to build it on Ethereum, and then I wanted to like have it like, for example, like any other stable coin like DAI running on that. But the biggest problem is the gas transaction. And the second thing is user experience. So as I showed in my presentation, user experience is one of the main things what people are saying with crypto adoption or DeFi adoption in India. At least there's people I spoke to, which is a small sample set. And they said whenever they try to use any coin, let's say DAI or anything like that, it goes through several clicks. Like, you have to safe approve, if it's ERC20, you would have to do a safe approve, and then you'd have to go through that. And then many times the transaction fails and so on. But in Matic, I mean, it's still nascent, but what I found is that, it's quite fast. And also the gas transaction fees really low. And that's why I went for that, the transaction fees, gas fees.
Okay. How long is the transaction time? Just ballpark.
The transaction time, the setup time is fast, but I don't have the exact metrics, but it's just as a user, when you see it, it looks faster, like about a second or so when you're like clicking through it. And okay, that makes a difference. Whereas sometimes you need to wait for the block to get mined. It takes sometimes, in rare cases, it takes forever, and that didn't happen so far. But it's still in its infancy. Maybe once they have like a bigger growth Matic, then they will also reach similar transaction fees and so on. But at this point of time, it seems like a really good option, and that's why I went for the sidechain.
There is 1 minute left in the Q&A.
Perhaps,
Where do you
can I answer? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Where do you think the interest might come from? Like you mentioned about the 4% interest. How do you, where does that come from?
So what I found is that you can try to use some kind of arbitrage. For example, people are willing to stake the money. So the stakers, for example, they can stake the money. And as you were saying, the rupees itself is quite volatile. So for example, you can use this INRR, which is tracking the rupee exactly. And you could, for example, hedge it against other assets. And the stakers, for example, who are staking this, they could use this and, for example, try to generate like a higher interest rate and so on. And using that arbitrage opportunities, they can then, because they get the liquidity and they can use this liquidity and play around with it. And on the other end, to the creditors, to the liquidity providers, we can then provide a stable interest rate like 4%. So that's the final goal.
Got it. Thank you.
One short question. So basically, the idea is based. It's similar to DAI, right? To make a DAO infrastructure, just not bind to US dollar, but to rupee. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, on a side chain. Yeah, not on the mainnet. Yeah.
That's everything for Q&A. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, so the next team is called the Ether XP. If you guys could start sharing your screen, that would be good.
Let me know if we can start playing.
Yep, you can start playing. Is there supposed to be audio?
Give me 2 seconds.
Sure thing.
A slight error.
And just remember when you reshare your screen to hit the share audio button. Yeah, cool.
That was exactly the problem. I apologize for that.
What's up, fellow Ethereans? It's your MC Masher here, and today we are going to talk about digital identity. Users currently do not own their reputation online. That's the problem. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and the rest are closed gardens. Gardens where all the plants you sow are hidden behind a gate, and all the crops you harvest are owned by a publicly traded corporation. It's time we throw open the gates and declare rightful ownership to our identities on the internet. Here is our solution. Turn digital reputation into a non-transferable NFT so a user owns their digital reputation and can take that reputation with them throughout Web 3.0. In this example, we ended up turning XP, the native reputation of the Ether, into a non-transferable NFT. XP is earned by users when they make insightful arguments or have useful answers to interesting questions. As users earn more XP, they level up. The user's level is representative of their level of insight regarding Ethereum-related topics. Here you can see our leaderboard and how much XP each individual user owns. We want to allow them to transfer this XP representation into a non-transferable NFT representation. We have created smart contracts that do allow a user to convert their current level, which is based on XP, from the Ether into a non-transferable NFT badge called EXP. Their EXP will live in their own personal wallet. Here, you can see our open source repo that goes over how we did it and what the badges actually look like. And here on Etherscan, you can see 2 transactions we made where we we're able to send a user EXP. We wanted to show this screen because it displays the non-transferable nature of our NFT. As you can see, a fail with error, the Ether XP cannot be transferred to other owners, error messaged appear. This displays that our NFT cannot be transferred from user to user. We have used the NFT ERC 721 standard and prevented calls to transfer and safe transfer functions. However, low-level call data functions may still be susceptible to token transfers. We welcome bug and QA testers. We are continuing to add additional restrictions and security into our smart contract to ensure the token is permanent and non-transferable. Thank you for your time.
All right, Q&A will now begin.
Yeah, I'd like to
Hi,
start. Sorry.
Sure, Sergej, please go.
Yeah, okay, thanks. So the token is not transferable. So that means if I get it and I lost my wallet, it's gone, right? So
it's a great point. We thought about this, and the way that we have solved this particular problem is that we have a special token that's actually, we call it a untrusted miscreant token. That if you were able, for example, we're on the Ether already, we're working with Bright ID. And if you brought your Bright ID to us and then showed that saying that the account that was tied to you, the wallet that was tied to you is no longer yours, maybe your private keys were taken, etc., we would send an untrusted miscreant token to your wallet, to your previous wallet that you owned, which would show that any XP that wallet has earned or any reputation that wallet has is no longer to be trustworthy.
Okay.
Yeah, just two questions here, Matheson. My first would be, why use NFT, right? If your main pitch is, which I understand is it's non-transferable, you can just have a simple ERC20 which is non-transferable. So why NFT, right? And my second would be, what value? So I get what benefits non-transferability brings, right? So it's a sticky reputation, right? Mm-hmm. But you also then cannot, how do you monetize your reputation, right? Is there, what are the benefits of having a non-sticky reputation if I can't monetize or do things with it? Right?
Yeah, so monetization for the Ether is completely separate. The same reason, what we're really trying to mirror is how do I show that I have knowledge on a particular topic without having a certain degree from a certain institution, or without showing that I have 100,000 Twitter followers in order for that to be my proxy of how much insight I have to that degree, right? We're not trying to monetize per se the reputation, though we have some plans that are a little bit separate from that. What we're trying to do is we're trying to create ways that people can show that they've experienced within a specific field or within a specific knowledge set without relying on these current reputation scores that they do not own themselves. And what was your first question? I apologize.
Why do it as an NFT? And yeah.
So we took inspiration. There's been a couple projects that have looked into doing some of this work before. MakerDAO actually just came out with some badges that are also, I believe, using the ERC 721 standard. And so we basically, the inspiration that we were able to take from, or saw that some other people have been testing it with it, they had done the NFTs. And also we believe that a badge, which is really what this reputation is, the NFT is needed to have unique badges that are tied effectively for it to be in the NFT structure, for there to be a corresponding unique badge.
Okay.
There is one left in the Q&A.
Yeah, my just follow up on that would be, it depends on what your end usage is. Are you looking for this to be a reputation within a platform that you're building, or you are building a reputation for across the platform, right?
That's exactly right. So we're XP is part of a larger project called TREP. We're calling it tokenized reputation. And we just used it as the example for our platform as the first application where you can see this working. The idea here is that we then work with other, Web3 protocols, other projects within Web3, and help build, a common reputation scoring system for many of the actions that take place on their protocols or their applications. The real idea here is to come up with a sort of industry-related reputation score that isn't, as I said before, related to Twitter followers or Reddit karma, which isn't really used, but really Twitter followers is what primarily people use.
Okay. So my ending comments on this would be that it's an interesting, like reputation is something, open reputation is winner takes all kind of game, right? So the more reputation is around one platform, it's hard to port that reputation somewhere else, right? So for you, it would be the reputation has to be integrated across as many platforms. That's the outreach, right?
That's exactly right. But it's not our reputation. It's, for example, like let's take Gitcoin. If you did certain actions on Gitcoin, like are consistent donor to certain types of projects, maybe you earn the same sort of dApp type of XP that you earn on the Ether for making arguments about dApps that are very compelling. Really partnering with other applications and building a common reputation system around that. And then you can take that reputation wherever you want to go. Maybe in order to get into certain conferences, you need to show that you're an expertise within the DeFi sort of category of XP, right? So that there are a lot of different ways that you can use this reputation, and ones that we're not necessarily, other people can come up with as well. Turning reputation into the platform.
Sorry to interrupt. That will be the end of the Q&A. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
All right. So the next team that I'll be introducing is PermanentLoss.finance. If you guys could start sharing your screen, that would be nice.
There's no sound.
There's no audio right now.
Sorry, was there no audio at the beginning either?
Nope.
Okay, let's try the YouTube version. Are you a liquidity provider in anything? Uniswap? Do you farm Uni tokens by providing liquidity to the stablecoin pools? Do you dream of an early retirement on a stack of funny internet money? Do you wake up in the middle of the night concerned about
share your screen though? You're gonna have to reshare because we're not seeing the share screen.
Oh, it went away. Yep, here we go. So share computer sound, done. Sharing. For a password. All right, one more go here. Test.
No sound.
YouTube. You're killing me here. I don't know why YouTube's not playing.
Do you want me to try and play it here?
Yeah, because I don't know why YouTube decided just not to play anymore. I'll turn it over to you quick if you have it ready.
Okay. Just 1 sec. Can you guys see the screen?
Yep, we can see the screen.
Yep.
And their audio or?
Is it playing at the moment?
No.
Because I can't hear
No
it.
audio.
No audio.
If you reshare, when you drop the share screen, reshare and make sure you hit the share audio at the bottom in the Zoom. After you hit share screen, there's the bottom left box to hit.
Liquidity provider in Uniswap. Again, anything? Do you farm Uni tokens by providing liquidity to the E stablecoin pools? You guys hear?
Yes.
Okay. Do you farm Uni tokens by providing liquidity to the E stablecoin pools? Do you dream of an early retirement on a stack of funny internet money? Do you wake up in the middle of the night concerned about your position and check the ETH price? You may be suffering from something called permanent impermanent loss. Luckily, there's a new product which can help you. PermanentLoss.finance will help you secure your funny internet money financial future by providing tools to hedge away impermanent loss. Don't get wrecked, protect. Hi, this is Jacob from the Permanent Loss team. PermanentLoss.finance is a tool for Uniswap LPs to try and avoid impermanent loss on the stablecoin pools. So here on the graph, you can see in blue is your kind of standard impermanent loss graph. So in a delta of the two tokens in the pool, it'll show you what kind of impermanent loss you expect to suffer. And since these are ETH stablecoin pools, we really only care about the price of ETH changing because we assume the stablecoins will remain fairly stable. Over top of this, we've graphed the put and call option prices. We pull these from the open protocol. We query their subgraph to get the ones that are open that haven't expired yet. And then we go out to Uniswap and get the current prices. And we plot this right over top of this impermanent loss graph so you can really kind of see like how to construct impermanent loss protection. So let's select one of these options here. Here's one at 67% of the current price of ETH. So this would protect us if the ETH price fell more than 33%. Basically this part of the curve, we could be protected if we purchased this option. When you select an option, you'll kind of see some of the details on it. So we can see the strike price on this is 280. So if ETH price falls below 280, we'd be in the profit on this one. Well, 280 plus the price you're paying to have the option. You can see the expiry. And so what we do is we say, you know, this expiry is in 35 days. If we assume an APY in Uniswap of 20%, here's our projected gain without the put. And then we calculate our projected gain with the put. And then we can say, you know, this costs us of our total gains over the expected period costs us 25% to ensure this position for a greater than 33% loss in the price of ETH, leaving us with a net APY of 15%. And then you can go in here and you can change the APY. Maybe you don't think it's 20, maybe you think it's more like 10%. And all these numbers will change as you do that to play around. You can also change the amount of ETH. So right now we're only looking at protecting 1 ETH. We can switch this up and say, let's try and protect it for 15 ETH. And now we have some new prices for a larger position. We can go in here and construct a straddle if we want. So a straddle is when you have both the put and call option. And this will protect us sort of on both sides of the graph. So on this up slope, we'll have, if ETH price rises more than 500, we'll be protected from this level of impermanent loss. And if the ETH price drops below this price, below 280, this left side of the graph will have protected. So really the only part of the graph we'd be concerned about is sort of this zone, which actually is a pretty small impermanent loss zone.
Hey everyone, my name is Andre, and here we have set up a strangle. That's an options strategy in which you buy a put and a call option with the same expiration date but with different strike prices. In order to buy the options, you need to click on the green and yellow buttons and go to Uniswap. Here you have to accept the option token, and then you can actually buy your options. The input token is taken from the option contract, and the input amount corresponds to the amount of ETH you've chosen to protect. Now, with the options in your wallet, you can exercise them before expiry on OpenMonitor or Etherscan, or you can just sell them back to the market on Uniswap.
All right, that looks good. Q&A will now start.
All All right, any questions?
I don't have any questions. I like what you guys are building. It makes total sense.
Thanks.
Yeah, I have the similar comment to Qiao. It's interesting. You can see how it could be useful, right? I also like the commentary on your video in the start. It's a very movie feel to it. Yeah, the commercial. So it's fun. My just one comment would be on the UI. I think you guys, for something like this, because the strategies are complicated, right? You guys need to have more education on the UI, a lot more.
Yeah.
And the other part right now is you're moving people to Uniswap to do the execution and stuff, right? So that just creates a hassle, too many clicks for a user, right? I would, if someone actually wants to use it, he should be able to use it on your website, right? 2 clicks and done, right? Get his covered.
Couple ideas on that. We want to have, I think, just 2 like maybe buttons when you first load it up, like the Cadillac plan and like the basic plan, and those would automatically select options that sort of make sense there. And then yeah, if we had our own contract behind it that you could purchase both atomically, through our own contract, I think that would improve things as well.
We actually started implementing this with the Open V2 protocol, but because there was not enough time, we decided to support Open V1 for now and work on our own contracts later. And then you wouldn't have to go to Uniswap or anything.
One question from my side. What was the hardest challenge on this hack for you?
I think definitely Open V2. I know Andre spent a bunch of time trying to get the V2 up and running.
It was hard. Just they changed it so much from the first version of the protocol, and I tried to work with it, but at like 15 days into the hackathon, we decided to focus on V1. But these first 15 days, the hard part was actually getting the Open V2 contracts to work. And we started. You can create your own margin vaults where option sellers can come, deposit collateral, open new vaults from which the options tokens can be minted from. So this is working and this is tested right now, but the interface, you don't see any of that.
Yeah, so I think when V2 hits mainnet, it'll be much easier to integrate with them, and they have like the subgraph working and everything.
Yeah,
should be easy to add at that point.
Do any of you have background in working in finance or options or derivatives?
Not at all.
Okay.
I had to Google like what a strangle and a straddle was and what the difference was, all that at the beginning.
Have you guys thought about using perpetual swaps to hedge instead of options?
Yeah, I definitely want to integrate with more providers, hedgers or perp.fi or something. It would change some of the calculation because you don't have that ending point.
Yep.
But yeah, be nice because then, well, I guess the option V2s automatically will exercise if they're in the profit, which is nice. V1s, you actually have to manually remember to exercise your options before they expire.
If you don't,
that's
you just
all the time we have for
your
Q&A.
premium.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, so the next team is LQuiD.LiQpaiD. If you guys can start sharing your screen, we can get started.
Hi there, judges. Привет, Sergej. I'm going to share my desktop right now. And do you prefer to see the video or live? Because when I was making the video, there was a problem with gas and a transaction wouldn't go through, but I can show the video even though it's going through now. I mean, I guess I'll just do the video since that's what everyone's doing.
ETHGlobal judges. My name is Richard, and I'm pleased to present LQuiD.LiQpaiD. The project is a fork of the LQuiD protocol, which was presented on the DeFi Summit Day. And it's a fork implemented on the NEAR protocol. So the UX you see before you is actually a open source UX implemented by the LQuiD team. And my teammate Daniel and I adapted it to work with the NEAR protocol wallet. Currently, we're facing some gas issues on the side of the wallet, but to just demonstrate what it would look like to open a CDP in the LQuiD protocol implementation, we'll go ahead and click Open Trove. So it immediately redirects you to your wallet and requires you to receive a text with a code.
And there's no way to disable the two-factor auth. I tried to like fix the gas issue, which is probably a good thing in production, but bad for a hackathon.
And if it were to succeed, it would, asking again. Okay, 057 109. Back to our UX. Okay, I guess it's.
If it works, it redirects you
at all. So, LQuiD basically wants to be the best CDP engine in existence in terms of capital efficiency and hard peg guarantees. So your stablecoins are always pegged to $1, or in our fork, a quid, a Great British Pound. And it's always 150% over collateralized, even though your individual trove that you open can be 110% over collateralized. So our main modification to the protocol mechanics was the redemption mechanism, and that's when you send back stablecoins to the protocol in order to receive back your collateral. And the difference with LQuiD and our implementation is that LQuiD goes through the least collateralized CDPs first and redeems from them, whereas we loop through every single CDP in existence. And this is possible because of NEAR protocol's efficiency compared to Ethereum. And we will reduce everybody's collateral and debt in proportion to what their contribution is to the total collateralization ratio. And that's about it as time permits. ETHGlobal judges. My name is Richard.
In case you weren't at the DeFi Summit Day, I can give like a little more explanation about the LQuiD protocol, or just if you're already familiar, ask whatever you please.
I'm not familiar.
Okay, so basically, it allows you to not pay any interest, unlike DAI. So like DAI always has a savings rate, interest rate that's always changing. Here you just pay up front if there are certain market conditions that require that payment. And if the market is relatively stable, you don't pay up front at all. It's free to issue debt as long as it's 110% over collateralized. But there are fees when you redeem. So when you give back the stablecoin trying to get back collateral, you pay a redemption fee. So there's that and how it's better for people who want to go long or people who just want to get some liquidity. And it's 110, it's 150 as a system. So basically the redemption fees, they will throttle the too much loan issuance, and also when there's too many stable coins in circulation and it's over $1. The fact that you can the opposite situation when it's like under $1, the fact that you can always redeem into the protocol for the value of $1 means you can arbitrage that. So you basically buy up a bunch of stable coins for like 99 cents, give it back to the protocol, and get $1's worth of that amount in Ether. So you're taking that arb. And the capital efficiency is it'll liquidate basically the people who are least collateralized, but ensure that everybody's stablecoins are like 150% backed, even though to issue them in the first place, you never had to be 150% backed as a CDP. And there's no governance. That's really big. Like there's no voting for like stability fees or anything like that. And there's like a recovery mode when the system falls below 150 over collateralized, and there's some constraints around that. So I can go deeper into that if you want. Or
I have a question. How was it to build something for Near protocol?
Yeah, Near is lovely because it lets you do everything in a very simple way. So LQuiD works on Ethereum, and it uses some very, very cool mathematical techniques to basically never have to loop through everybody's CDP, but just update everybody's debt and collateral through a sort of like a scaling factor, similar to how Compound works, but in a very much more involved way. In Near, it's basically free to loop through everybody and just update everybody's debt and collateral. I don't think I touched on this. There's no like auction-based liquidations. When someone is a candidate for liquidation, their debt basically gets redistributed to everybody who has a CDP and their collateral.
Okay, thanks.
So are you guys connected to the liquidity, or this is just the fork you guys have forked on your?
So the LQuiD code base is going to be closed source for another few months, but this is basically the protocol on Near, and it doesn't use exactly the same liquidation and redemption mechanism. It's a little bit modified, and when I say modified, it's really simplified because it was like the easiest way to build it, and also why not? Because Near is cheap and efficient.
There's one more minute to the Q&A.
Oh, also there's no price oracle attached right now. The UX just you set the price manually, but in the future we're going to rewrite everything in Rust. So we used assembly script for this hackathon because it was just easy, but it's not like we ran into many challenges with it. So yeah, for the future we'll rewrite it in Rust, attach Chainlink, and deploy it on Polkadot as well.
Did you say assembly is easier than Rust?
Assembly script. So it's like a it's a subset of TypeScript, I think.
Oh, okay.
Any more questions? Also, I guess since we're looking at it, stability pool is when you take the stable coins that you mint to yourself or you buy them on the market and you basically stake them. And by staking them, you get a share of all of the liquidations and all of the fee revenues in the system.
That's all the time we have for a Q&A. Sorry about that. So now we will start a 10-minute break. Judges, feel free to turn off your camera, go on mute, and get a quick snack. We'll reconvene at 1:50.
Actually, go cool if you could hold one moment till the judges return. So if you could stop your share screen for the moment, and then we'll start you back up once the judges return. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, looks like all the judges are here, so we'll get this going. So yeah, next team is, and forgive me if I'm pronouncing this incorrectly, Semiott Protocol. If you guys could start sharing your screen, we can get this started.
Thank you, Andrew and Andy. Actually, there is no such word. I just added a T at the end. That's why it's called Semiott. Semiott, yeah, please let me start the video.
Dear all, hi, I'm Gokul Alex. It's my pleasure and privilege to present Semiott Protocol VerityNet implementation for ETHGlobal 2020 hackathon. Let me share the screen. Our repository is in Semiott Protocol. So here, VerityNet is the reference implementation. And VerityNet comprises of probabilistic proofs, Circom circuits, Snark.js, and Starkware, Vido, VDF-powered RANDAO, and MASI, Semaphore, Applied ZKP, Minime Anti-Collusion Infrastructure MASI. And these are the zero-knowledge proof-related fairness-focused algorithms which are being used to build apps and application architectures here. So let me quickly take you to the VerityNet. VerityNet, as you can see, our architecture consists of building markets and apps powered by markets and votes. So markets are created by non-fungible tokens. Here we use TeamLake and Fairness DAO, powered by the RANDAO concept. RANDAO is implemented using Vido, Starkware, Vido, VDF. And the fairness votes are created using MASI, Minimum Anti-Collusion Infrastructure from Applied ZKP. And so we create fairness proofs using Circom, Circuit, and Snark.js, and fairness funds are created as quadratic funds. And here, the fairness DAO is created from RANDAO. The technologies are, we are implementing both optimistic and ZK rollup here. That's one of the novelty in this. Optimistic rollup is implemented in the Teller reference implementation, and ZK rollup is implemented using the simple approach we have also experienced in IDEN3 and Matter Labs. So the centrifuge, TeamLake, ERC20 and 721 are the tokens deployed. It is implemented on Aave token for a token swap, and also a StarkX swap is done on StarkX exchange. And the VDF DAO now is used for governing Aave, Compound, and StarkX. So these are the technical components. You can see the ZK rollups, optimistic rollups, token swap, also deployed on the Graph API. The novelty is quadratic voting and quadratic voting verifiers, right? So you can see further details in the code base here, right? There is a Circom-based circuit, and this verifier is deployed on ZK rollup, and governance for Aave and Compound using VDF DAO, quadratic voting using MASI, and TeamLake token swap for Aave, and the Teller optimistic rollup using Circom circuit-based data dispute provers. Then a token curated registry on TeamLake marketplace, and using TeamLake on TeamLake ERC20 tokens on StarkX. So this is all about VerityNet. VerityNet also has tried a link pool bridge integration from Chainlink, so dispute verifiers and Compound governance, Aave governance.
Judges, so I've slightly upgraded the architecture. So this is the architecture, and for better clarity, I'm just showing the architecture again, fairness finance through markets and funds. It is a very ambitious goal. I'm sure that fairness cannot be achieved overnight. We just started attempting fairness by forking Aave governance and compound governance, and then integrating quadratic voting verifiers using CIRCOM and MASI together. So there is fairness proof. A fairness proof is fairly ready, but the fairness organizations, it's a very early stage. I can say RANDAO is an early stage with on-chain randomness from Starkware Vido. Fairness tokens, I have taken Tin Lake tokens, but I don't say that is the best approach. Perhaps I can also explore Aztec or Sether, but I could not do all that. Fairness funding, I definitely sure we can approach quadratic funding and quadratic payments. And fairness oracle, I found the teller data dispute oracle as a very powerful concept that they have implemented in optimistic rollup. So I've forked that and integrated a data dispute verifier from CIRCOM into it. These are
Gokul, you're sharing a blank screen at the moment. Do you want to share something else, or? I don't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to point that out.
Oh, sorry,
okay.
I didn't.
No problem.
Okay, I think I missed it. So I was telling about fairness proofs. So this is the architecture again. I just wanted to show you a summary. It has fairness proof, fairness organizations, fairness tokens, fairness funds, and fairness oracles. So these are very ambitious early steps, but I believe we need to solve the problems of corruption and collusion, because especially in emerging countries like in Asia, like India and others, there is so much of corruption in the mainstream finance. There is so much of collusion. There are so much of scams. Unless we get that money into the decentralized finance, we cannot expand our decentralized finance economy. That is the inspiration in this project. I don't have a front end till now. I could not get, I am the only developer. I was only working on the zero knowledge proofs and the solidity part. Hopefully, I'll be able to build a solid front end. I am deploying on Matic network at the moment, but I am planning to integrate to Ethereum 2 very soon. And this is my roadmap. I'm also inspired by UMA protocol and the Opine convexity protocol. Would like to deploy on diversify and OPM exchanges. Thank you, judges. Oh.
All right. Yeah, we can start on Q&A now.
To be Gokul, I would start with the question of what is fairness finance. I still am very confused after that presentation, right? So I understand quadratic votings. I've got some of the words, but I don't know the application you're building. So there are a lot of components I've seen DAO, their parts on DAO, on finance, on. But what exactly is your product?
What I'm intending to do is, what I'm intending to say is, fairness algorithms is an emerging concept. Especially, it is very popular in the world of AI. We are seeing a lot of bias in AI algorithms. That's where fairness became a very huge demand, like in computer vision and a lot of field. But recently, in the world of finance, there is huge demand for fairness. How do you determine whether somebody is eligible for a loan? How do you determine this interest rate? It is all opaque in the mainstream world. And there are a lot of people who are going scot-free after doing corruption because it is highly centralized and there is no good fairness audit in the banking institutions in emerging economies. This is why I believe if we bring in fairness into our decentralized finance protocols and platforms, it can be huge change. For example, how do you determine the interest rate for flash loans? How do you look at the risk, especially when you look at something like UMA, which is looking at assessing the risk in the entire cycle. If we are doing that fairness-based validations, it could add lot of, we can make it very inclusive for the people who are struggling with the unfairness in the mainstream finance. So I would like
just to take your example
fairness,
on.
Sorry,
Just to take your example on
I can,
UMA, how would that work?
I
What
will
would
take
fairness in
a
UMA be?
better example at Aave. Yeah, I'll explain Aave. In the Aave case, better is, for example, we want to do a credit delegation. When you're doing a credit delegation, you have a huge sum of fund, or you want to lend money, and you want to lend to people who are deprived of the money in the mainstream world. But how do you know that your distribution is fair? This is the problem I want to address. When you're delegating your fund, how do you know it is fairly distributed? And the second case, when I'm talking about UMA, when you are aggregating the digital assets and creating a synthetic asset, maybe a digital gold, how do you know that this asset you are integrating is done in a fair manner? How do you create a synthetic asset in a fair manner? So essentially, there should not be an asymmetry when we are doing. Even if somebody has more collateral or somebody has more stake, it should not create an asymmetry. That is what I want to intend by saying fairness. And privacy is definitely a subcomponent of fairness. Privacy, integrity. That is why I have taken zero knowledge proof.
Okay, I'm gonna have to stop you there. Yeah, Q&A is over now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, judges. Thank you, organizers.
Okay, so the next team will be CoverETH. If you guys can start sharing your screen, that would be good. There's currently no audio. Could you try to reshare? Make sure to click on the button on the bottom left.
Hello and welcome to the presentation of the CoverETH theme for the competition. My name is Francisca and I've been working on the integration of OpenQL and the Graph and React.
Hi, I'm Armin and I've been working on some of the smart contracts that we've been setting up.
Hi, I'm Anish, and I've been working on the whole idea and helping both the teams with integrating GraphQL and looking at smart contracts. And just to let you know, we lost one of my PhD mate, who is our teammate, to sleep. So let me walk you through CoverETH. So here we go. So in our team, we have in together 35 plus years of security experience in security and cryptography. And we saw the bigger problem of lack of transparency in security audit. And this is actually increasing the risk for the whole Ethereum ecosystem. And we wanted to take this challenge up. And the best example to show this is what happened to YAM. In a single 24 hours time, from $164 plus to less than $1. So this is really impacting the Ethereum ecosystem. And the other thing that we need to notice is the fact that until Q1 2021, most of the major security audit firms have been booked up. So there is no chance in hell for anybody to get the security code audited. So what was the concept? The concept was create an incentive structure that opens the field up to reviewers wishing to build their reputation by collecting a stake and deferred payments to guarantee for review while earning an interest on these until they are returned, okay? An insurance product to lower the risk of all parties involved. So by invoking both these methods, we're able to reduce the overall risk that's being a reviewer, a submitter of a smart contract is exposed to. So this is very, very simple. We really focused on making this as simple as possible. You connect the wallet, you click a contract, and we will handle the rest. So it's as simple as that. So, literally, submitter submits a contract, a reviewer, selects the contract, bids for it, and then he or she continues to review the contract and submits a report on it. And this is what the whole mechanism looks like. There is a bit of staking, so as the risk is actually taken care of. There is, to prevent it from denial of service attack. Then there's the auction mechanism to do the price discovery. Then the reputation, so we can actually measure the risk for a contract being reviewed by a particular reviewer. There's an insurance to reduce the risk of the submitter against all risk of security bugs in the security contract, and the interest that's being accrued from the compound that's actually incentivizing people to actually maintain the stake in the platform, and hence increasing the insurance payouts we can actually pay out in the future. So how do they submit the contract? They just go in, just select which of the three a particular contract would look like, and they select submit, and it goes through. And a reviewer comes in, he selects one, and they submits their wallet, and off it goes through, and the auction completes. They get a result. Now, literally what happens is they have to submit the report. The report gets submitted to the submitter. Submitter has the ability to approve or reject. If it's being rejected, then the dispute happens, and at the end of the dispute, whatever that's being left is actually left to the pool. So somebody who is actually a reviewer would actually accrue a lot more of value over time, because all the value in the pool is actually going to compound and is getting transferred into their wallets. Thank you ever so much for listening to our presentation, and please feel free to check our documentation.
All right, that looks good. Q&A will now start.
So initially, how do you bootstrap the reputation system for these auditors?
This is going to be an interesting challenge. This is an open problem. So the thing we were trying to do was start with a low value contracts. So we kind of classified the contracts into low, medium, and high complexity. And we wanted to actually start up with low complexity contracts and get enough of data to actually be able to price things out. Or we can actually start with a medium level and push it up or down. A typical thing that you do on recommender systems. But the easier thing to do is just start with the simplest of the ones and go it up.
So on the technical side of this project, what was the hardest, what was the most challenging part of the work for you guys?
Oh, GraphQL, getting all the pieces in and out and getting all the pieces working properly. Sorry to put it that way.
Okay.
At one point in time, we couldn't even get on the GraphQL, the graph, I mean.
Yep.
Right? Sorry.
And just to come in, so you're building a marketplace for audits in one
yes,
sense, right?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
And there's an auction and bid mechanism for the audits, payments and the transactions.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
I don't understand the staking insurance and all that.
Okay. I'll explain
I couldn't
that.
understand any of that. Right?
Oh, okay. I should have tried better. So the situation is like you're the submitter, you submit something, it goes to that side. Then there are a set of reviewers, right? So what the other panelist was asking me, how do I know, how do I rate the risk for other people, right? So we start off at the middle, and if you want to try to stake for something that's higher than your rating, you have to stake higher, right? So a reviewer has to stake to actually get the right to actually do a review. That's first part. And second part is like the delta between the payout, the incoming and the payout is actually deployed into a pool. Okay, and the pool has the ability to pay out if there's a dispute, and in the dispute you could actually prove that the thing has been broken over the period on time. You will have a time for which this insurance will be valid, and then you will get paid out as a submitter. So there's two sets of mechanisms in here.
Okay, just to understand correctly on the economic actors, right?
Sure.
So the submitter would generally be the initiator of the deployer of the contract,
absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
So he wants his contract to be submitted. He submits it.
Yep.
A reviewer takes some value to get the rights to review.
Absolutely,
now,
yes.
So this stake amount backs his reviews as such. So if there is a hack of a contract that he has reviewed, he'll lose the stake.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
In addition, you have a pool, right? Yeah, it's an economic argument. It's a game theoretic argument. We are kind of seeing, okay, can we apply a bunch of tools? So, to team, we were looking at recommender systems and other things. We wanted to do it, but we didn't have the time. So we could apply a whole bunch of automation. So if somebody submits something, we can put it on an automated, statico-dynamic analysis tool set, get bounds on the risk, and then use the reputational scores from the reviewers and really price that. Because right now, we don't have any sense of idea of, A, the reputation of anybody who's actually doing the review, B, the pricing, right? It's a completely non-transparent or intransparent market. So, better transparency, higher chances of finding bugs, that'll be super awesome. That's what we wanted to do. Give it a shot. We don't know if we'll be able to do it, but we'll give it a shot.
All right, that's time's up for Q&A. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, so for the next team, we'll be introducing YFNFT. If you guys could start sharing your screen, we could get started.
The biggest innovation of the 21st century. Problem we have is lack of user adoption, understanding of even an interest. One of the ways to solve it is casual cryptocurrency. So let's make a game. But what kind of game would promote crypto?
Sorry, the video is not clear at all.
The audio is very
Yeah, can't hear anything.
Hello, Heather told me that you guys can play my video. So Andy, as the organizer, can play my video. Because in the test room, I was told that my audio is not clear and someone else
okay.
can play my video.
All right, stand by. Let me see if I can find it here. Okay, all right. I'll be sharing shortly.
Of the 21st century. Problem we have is lack of user adoption, understanding, or even any interest. One of the ways to solve it is casual crypto gaming. So let's make a game. But what kind of game would promote crypto? Surely it should be about money. Because blockchain is programmable about money and people like it, people love money. But it should not be Ponzinomics, avoid any Ponzinomics, no gambling, not only for whales. Let's add social elements, creativity. Let's mix it with non-fungible tokens. I've tried to do it and I've come up with YFNFT. So, how do you play? You have to take over an NFT. I'm gonna take over Ivan because his head looks empty here. Let's make a meme. YNFT, the next big thing for Ethereum. I'm gonna take over Ivan. Cool. So Ivan is mine. For every second I hold an NFT, I score 1 point. So at the moment I score 3 points every second because I hold 3 NFTs. That one is owned by a competitor. When somebody takes over NFT from me, I will stop scoring. And my goal is to have the most points. By the end of the week, at Sunday, we start a new round where we distribute the prizes amongst the top players. So on Sunday, the first player will get 48% of the prize pool and so on. So in the last round, this player won 38 Matic. He was the best scoring player, and somebody also won a lottery. We also have a lottery. So if you guys want to play, go to www.yfnft.com and connect your MetaMask to Mumbai Matic testnet. You need 10 NFTs you need 10 Matic to play. Thank you.
All right, Q&A will begin.
Who creates these NFTs?
At the moment, me. I decide which are there. Later, there can be some DAO. There can be NFT. There could be YFNFT ERC20 token with governance. At the moment, I decide which NFTs are there. So I mint them.
Got it.
This can be community voted later. So basically, this product can grow in many ways.
I like this idea with memes and Ivan and others. So it's a funny thing.
Yes, so the goal is to bring some fun in here. Also, it has to be blockchain. It has to be about money, but different than all that we have there at the moment. All the products that are coming out seem much too similar.
True.
Any thoughts on how to improve the game in the future? How to make it even more fun?
Yes. So what is code that I started before the hackathon? So it's like a second iteration of what I wanted to code. I have a newer idea at the moment. I can share my screen again. But the coolest one would be NFT that you can't buy, NFT you can't win. No, NFT you can't buy, you can't farm, you have to win it. So you go to the screen, you mint your NFT, let's say like on Rarible, and you put it in the game, and during the weekly round, people vote on it. So the most liked one will be minted by the end of the week, and the rest of the NFTs will be will vanish. So during the week, we're gonna make only one NFT. People have to be incentivized to play, so the minters will pay some small fee, and one of them will win and will get NFT at the end of the week. The rest will lose this small fee. The likers also have to pay some fee, but at the end of the week they will get the money back based on some.
Minute to the
Q&A. Let's say if you voted for one of the top 5 NFTs, you're gonna get your money back. I didn't figure out exactly how to give the money back. There will be more money to give back to the likers because the minters that lost their money will be able to give money to the likers. I don't know if I'm clear here. I hope I am. But at the moment, I believe if people start playing, it's fun. It's fun to take over and hodl for as long as you can.
All right, that's all the time we have for Q&A. Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys. And go and play. Go and play, obviously.
Yeah, we'll do. All right, so last but not least, we have the final team. Really like the name for this one. Tenderize Me will be sharing your screen now.
Nico's presenting, but I think it hasn't refreshed yet. Okay.
Hello, everyone. This is our submission for the ETHOnline hackathon. We built Tenderize Me, a liquid staking protocol. So what's the problem with staking currently? Whenever you stake into a protocol, your funds become locked and become illiquid, and you can't use them, for example, as collateral in DeFi protocols. There's also often a high-end staking period. For example, in the Keep network, you have to wait 60 days in order to get your tokens back out of the system. Often there's also a high gas cost, which blocks smaller token holders from efficiently participating in such protocols. And there's also a little bit of effort required. You need some knowledge to efficiently participate in a staking protocol. So what is the solution that we built? For each token that you can stake in our protocol, there is a staker contract which pools and stakes token and automatically reinvests the rewards. Users receive a tender token, a derivative that represents their staked funds and rewards. For each deployment, there's also a balancer smart pool that allows swapping between the token and the underlying and the derivative tender token. So we currently build staker integrations for LivePeer as well as the Keep network, and we integrated the following sponsor APIs. We use 1inch to swap tokens that are not the stake token back for actual stake tokens during the collection of rewards. We use a Balancer smart pool to swap between the stake token and the derivative tender token. And for the Keep network, we build a pooled delegation system to delegate stake towards a node operator from multiple people. Now let's run through a live demo. So this is the homepage that users would land on. They can connect their wallet, so let's do that. There we go. And now we can choose between one of the options to stake. We can currently choose between LivePeer and Keep. So let's stake some LivePeer tokens. We have a balance of 50 LPT. Let's approve those for staking. There we go. Now we can deposit the LPT into the system. And as you can see, we now received 50 TLPT or 50 tender LivePeer tokens. Now, we're running this on a local deployment, so that gives us maximum control over the underlying dependencies that we use. So let's run some rewards through the LivePeer protocol, and that should show up in our front end as well. It should only take a little bit of time. There we go. And as you can see, each tender LivePeer token is now worth 1.17 LivePeer tokens because we now earn some rewards through staking in the LivePeer protocol. So let's get our 50 tender LivePeer tokens back out and convert them back to LivePeer tokens. So let's approve our tender LPT. And let's swap them, and this will actually swap them against the Balancer pool to get the underlying staked LivePeer tokens back out. There we go. And as you can see, we now have 51.5 LivePeer tokens, whereas we started with 50 LivePeer tokens. And this is basically what Tenderize does. It stakes tokens from each user together and gets you more rewards.
All right, Q&A will now begin.
I have a question. Was it hard to interact with 1inch?
No, it was actually pretty easy because the interface was fairly easy to use because we just used two functions, which is to get the distribution to choose between the several exchanges we want to swap from, and then the actual swap function. So it was only two functions, and it was pretty easy to integrate actually.
Okay, thanks.
Have you guys heard of X token by any chance?
I have not. Perhaps someone on the team has. I don't know.
Okay, no, just a very similar product. Just curious if you guys have come across it.
So yeah. What do you guys see as your biggest competitors currently? Are you guys competing against different yield aggregators as such?
I think our biggest competitors currently are, for example, the DeFi protocol, which is built on Polkadot, which achieves something similar. There's a couple of other products that do roughly the same thing or try to accomplish the same thing. I think where we stand out a little bit is by using a AMM to make the actual underlying tokens back swappable again. That's where we differ. But we have a couple of there's a couple of similar things on the market, or that are building similar things.
Yeah, from my side, I can say it looks great. So keep building on that. My estimate is yeah, looks great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
I'm just a little curious on how does the smart pool works. So does the protocol seed the pool and manage the pool, or are you expecting random users to come and contribute to the pool.
Right. So originally we indeed seed some initial liquidity into the pool. And other than that, from each deposit that happens, there's a percentage that gets added to the pool as well as for liquidity. Currently, this is like a static configured number. It's 90% is staked, 10% is sent into the liquidity pool. But for the future, we imagine this working alongside some curve that would stake more into the pool as there's less liquidity and less into the pool as there's already more liquidity there.
Okay.
There's 1 minute left to the Q&A.
I'm good. I think it's good what you guys are building. Obviously, we've seen an explosion in derivatives. I think the other people who are trying similar would be Ram DeFi, Stakehound, a few more of them. I like the idea of having liquidity built into the protocol and not leaving it to third parties to contribute to pools and stuff. Yeah, it's a nice work, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, maybe also when you were talking, what I thought, what is good that people can swap in and out directly without basically just coming from the outside. But the protocol itself, by people putting the deposits in, it basically rebalances the pool on every user interaction. So I thought that's kind of neat.
Okay.
All right, that's all the time we have for Q&A. Thank you for all your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you as well. See ya.
Okay.
I'm jumping back in. That's the last team. So I want to thank everyone, thank the judges, especially for your time. A quick note to the judges, there are two teams that you might have expected to be judging in this session, Markler Coin and X Liquidity, but they won't be judged in this session.
Okay.
So just make note of that.
Okay.
A reminder to everyone, we have the summit and finale event next Friday on the 30th, October 30th. So stay tuned. We have a couple more days of judging, and that's a wrap for this session. Thank you once again to the judges and everyone.
Thank you, Andrew. You've been a great host.
Thank you, Andy. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.